Morning, Ellis.
Morning, Amanda. How are you?
How are you?
Sunny? I missed that bit.
I said, how are you?
I'm excellent this morning. Sun's shining.
Oh, it's not so, it's cloudy here. It's not so
Oh, is
nice
it?
here.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful here.
Well, you know what they
Is,
say, Ellis. The sun always shines on the blessed.
is that what they say?
Sorry.
But the other way of looking at it is, Amanda, the sun is there. It's just hiding at the
It's
moment in your
tragic.
neck of
Oh,
the
thank
woods.
you. Yes, let's be positive about this. It's really nice to have you, Ellis, on this morning. I feel very honoured, I have to say, a man of your stature being on Savvy Says. I feel very, very honoured. So thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
So I'm just going to say good morning, Delphine. Good morning, Kate. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. So I know a lot about you, Ellis, because I'm obviously been around and been in the industry quite a while. So for those that maybe don't know a great deal about you and your agent, I just thought it'd be nice if you just explain a little bit about sort of your background and where you've come and how you are today and what's going on and that sort of thing, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I spent my early years in hotel operations and sales, to be fair. So I'm, very much aware of the potentially some of the audience might be in similar positions with, independent hotels. I mean, I did work for Thistle, Best Western, Queen's Moat, and also some small independent groups before setting up the agency back in, the end of the 80s. So it seems like an absolute age ago, which I think it was. And, the world was a different place then. And the agency market was a lot smaller, but no less important. We just did things differently and more manually in those days. But I think the agent's position was still very important to the venues.
Brilliant. And I think you're right. I'm probably 80s. You've seen so many changes in terms of, we were talking about sort of the venue finding or how you'd find your venue. I mean, I don't know. It wouldn't. I suppose you'd be down the local library, I assume, or finding venues out, retaining a little black book or that
it
sort
was.
of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it was very manual. I mean, for those of a certain age, will remember the venue finder. I think, well, the blue and green book, which was a big, thick wodge of static information. That really, we just, you're flicking through. You've got a location, and you're actually thinking about the best information that you've remembered. If you've seen a venue, and it's really just a case of traveling the country also, and going into venues and seeing what they're like, and putting in your little black book exactly as you said, to sort of say to yourself, yeah, that'd be a great venue for this, that, and the other. But interestingly, in the old days, it didn't matter. There was a lot of venues out there that were very tired and very dated, and the MICE industry was still a little bit in its infancy, I suppose. So hotels were hotels, and conference rooms were function rooms. That so there was you couldn't benefit from the technology and everything else that you get now. So it's very much down to what made a hotel or a venue different. It was all about the service. So whereas that was paramount because everything was done manually, I think that the difficulty now is that because everything's processed, and there's more efficient processes for getting inquiries and the volume out to venues, I think the danger is that you lose some of that personal bit because people aren't talking to each other. So the thing that's changed, I suppose, is it's easy to lose that personal touch now, whereas in the old days, in the early days, it was you had to work hard, you had to build relationships, you had to talk to people to get the information that you wanted. So much stuff now is at its fingertips. If you're not careful, you rely too much on what's there at the fingertips without digging a bit deeper and going asking questions and going talking to people. So that's where I'd say things have probably changed a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to say a few good mornings, if I may, Ellis. Morning, Janet. Cool. Good morning, Lynette. Nice to have you. Lynette's a very avid follower of Savvy Says. Rachel, Swift Venues. So, Rachel, lovely to have you. Thank you for joining us. Janet, very nice to see you, Janet. And Diana from Helms Briscoe. So thank you, Diana. Nice to see you. And Martina, nice good morning to you all. So very good morning to you all. Thank you for joining us. I've got a few questions, and obviously if anyone has any questions that they want to ask Ellis is in the hot chair, and I'm sure we'll be more than happy to answer anything within reason, of course. He doesn't want to give out his trade secrets, I'm sure.
I will for a price.
For a price, everything for a price. So obviously we want to talk today briefly about, and it is briefly because we're literally 30 minutes, about how venues can obtain successful relationships with agents and vice versa. I suppose it's both. It's a two-way partnership, isn't it? So and we want to touch on that. So I thought it would be really good to have Ellis's point of view of that, obviously with an agent that's over 30 years and been established and well known in the industry. So Ellis, I have a question for you. When you receive your inquiry from a very well-known client that you've done years and years of business with, what are your initial thoughts when you think, okay, what do I need to do? Who do I need to approach? What venue do I need to go to? What's you and obviously your colleagues' thoughts? How does the process work for you?
It's not complicated, but it's the sort of thing that I think that we probably do naturally now. I mean, as you say, the old blue and green book has been replaced, but a lot to do with where I've got this great inquiry. I need to find the right venue for the client. So it really depends on the event. Is it is it a meeting? Is it a conference? Is it a conference with fun? Or so a lot depends on the type of event that it is, and then you're looking at the relationships that we built up over the years. Where do we think we can now give the opportunity to? Who can we talk to? Who do we know that we can talk to as potentially as an account manager level initially? We got the great inquiry. Is it the sort of business that is right for your hotel? We believe it is. Does it fit? Do the dates work? All the sort of conversations that we would have an honest conversation with the venue or the venue representative. And our expectation is that we have honest information back. We expect the venue to be proactive, interested. And again, yes, we need the information, but that's just data, that's just detail. We need that information because the client will want to know, is the space available, how much is it going to cost, etc. But for us, it's more important that we've got people that we're working with that are interested in wanting to take that piece of business. Now, there is a little difference between a meeting for 10 and a meeting, a meeting conference for 300. But the meeting for 10, if it might be one of 100 events that we're placing, and the conference is a one-off, but it's making sure that we're working with a venue that is honest with us, that gives us the information that we're looking for up front without asking. We don't want to keep pulling to get the best deal. If you know what the best deal is, give it to us. Give us a reason for wanting to use your venue and say, we've got a fantastic deal, and the reason why you should use us is this, and this. Then we can go to the client and say, if we don't know the venue, got some fantastic options for you. So I think really that, you know, the key is be proactive, be honest, be upfront, quote the best rates, and don't mess us about. Don't play games with us, you know, because all we'll do, you know, there's no point saying, well, you know, we'd like to give you this rate, but actually we might go down to that rate. Either you want the business or you don't want the business.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you know, if you're being difficult with us, then we'll just put you to one side and we'll focus on the venues that are wanting to work with us.
I think just going back to what you were saying in terms of the relationship, you will have worked very, very hard to have obtained this client for a number of years, and you don't want to lose them. So the venue or the responses or the relationship that you have with the venue is almost like your second arm, isn't it? Because they're hopefully going to be delivering exactly what you've promised your clients. So you're almost, you know, you're relying on your relationship with the venue to actually have the same kudos that you have when you are delivering to your clients in terms of venue finding. So I suppose that the two work hand in hand. I'll just mention a couple of comments that have come through. Diane, mutual transparency, honestly, essential. Absolutely, Diane, couldn't agree more. And Ellie, morning both. Morning. We're an independent hotel, so love working with agents to assist with getting the name out there. Ellie, I'm so sorry, I don't know what independent hotel you work for, but thank you for joining us this morning. Oh, and Lynette has said, as a customer, I dislike games. Absolutely, Lynette. If you can do it at £35 DDR, don't sell me 40 to later go
exactly.
down. Absolutely, Lynette. Sorry, go on, Ellis.
No, she said, no, Lynette, you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, if you're going to go down to 35, then don't waste time by saying, no, it's 40. Because at the end of the day, if we've got another venue that is offering us 35, for argument's sake, and the other side of it is that we have clients that have events, very good clients that have events that actually, from the client's point of view, they know that and I use these brands, there are other brands available, you know, Holiday Inn, Novotel, Radisson, whatever, you know, and other brands and a lot of independent hotels. But where the client knows the particular brand will work for their event, then ultimately they have a budget. And if we've got 3 hotels coming in, you know, 1 on budget and 2 over budget, and that particular brand is one that the client knows, loves, and is comfortable with, then we'll just book the one at the right price, because the client will know that it's got the right standards, facilities, they're going to get the right price. We don't need then to go back to one of the other venues and try and negotiate, because, you know, we've given them the opportunity at the beginning. So sometimes we will place a booking in the right venue if the price is right, because the client already knows that, you know, which of the brands they use, they don't mind, because they know that they'll all work for this particular event.
Absolutely. I'm going to Matthew's asked a very pertinent question here. So do you think online live availability of venues is the way forward, or do you think that interaction with the venue is still important? So that's a really good question, Matthew.
Yeah. Very good question, Matthew. Probably a bit of both. I mean, I think if you've got smaller meetings, you know, a fairly standard meeting for six people, where you just need to find a venue, you want to book it quickly online, I think there is opportunities.
There's a market there.
There's a market for that. Yeah. I think with anything that's slightly more complicated, or you need or you want to negotiate, or you need to talk to somebody, you want something a little bit extra, then you still need to talk to people. And I think the process of being able to talk to somebody to get quick answers is still important for a venue to have that facility.
Absolutely. And I think it almost, if the venues are online, as Matthew said, the online availability, then your job as an agent is probably pushing you out, because the client could go direct online and do it, couldn't they?
Yes, sorry, I cut across you there, Amanda. I think you're right, but it's no different to a conversation I was having with somebody the other day about, I could go onto the Jet2 website, and there are other brands available, and book a holiday very, very easily. Okay. However, I would prefer to go to my local independent high street travel agent and book it, because I'll let them do the work. They will earn a little something out of it. I've got the peace of mind that I can fall back on them if anything goes wrong. So it's a similar principle. You can, it's a lot more advanced with holidays now. You can do that. You can do that online. From a meeting point of view, I think we're still it's a bit harder to do that, because it's not quite as transactional for a lot of meetings, unless they're the small
where it doesn't matter. Yeah, absolutely. Fran, we've got some questions coming in, firing in now to you, Alice. So here we go. You're right, Francesca. Morning, Francesca. How can we get academic venues more popular with agents and educate the clients about them? Not being a big brand, it's harder to get in front of agents. Right. Well, that was one of my questions, actually, Francesca.
Okay.
So you've picked me to the post there, so we can go smoothly onto that, Ellis, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. I mean, there are some academic type venues that are out in the market, that are independent, that are promoting themselves and forefront of our minds as agents already.
Brilliant.
So you don't have to be part of a big brand. You just have to be interested in the agents, interested enough to go and give them something, make them want to do business. I mean, it's basic selling, make them want to do business with you, be different, go out and offer them something that maybe nobody else is offering them, get in their face in a nice way, and ask the question, we're an independent venue. I'd really like to understand what business that you have, because I think, I've done my research, and, I believe that the business that you have would fit perfectly in our venue. What do I need to do? When can I talk to you about it? When can I show the team, what we're all about and why your clients should consider using our venue? And it's just sowing that seed initially, and then being consistent with communicating the messages of how brilliant you are and how brilliant you look after your customers, and be there, be visible. Sorry,
Alice. I was just going to say,
it's not complicated, but
it's not. I was just going to say, just touching on the word visible there. What third parties then would you, or websites, or would you suggest the likes of academic venues or venues, full stop, should maybe look at investing in being part of, to gain the greater exposure? Is there any particular ones that you sort of turn to yourself as an agent?
I mean, we use the venue directory. We use the gratis booking system, which is great. It's a great tool. If the venues use it and have the ability of using it correctly, send us back the correct information that we asked for, and that works brilliantly. There is a site. I don't know whether many people on board have heard of MiceBook.
No,
if you haven't heard of MiceBook, go Google it and join up, register, pay whatever you need to pay to be visible. It's a great tool. If anybody wants to know any more about how it works and how it can benefit you, I'm available, or Debbie is our champion on MiceBook. So quite happy that if anybody wants to contact us, either email or give us a ring, and we can talk you through you know, why you should use it. And so, yeah, you know, that's probably the best. Be visible on Google. You know, if we're searching for your hotel, make it easy for us to, or your venue, make it easy for us to find you. So simple things like that. You know, be on Instagram, be on Facebook. I mean, I know that's, you don't have to pay much for that other than giving lots of time. But, you know, I think it's more about showing your personality more on those sort of platforms, and that will create quite a bit of engagement. I mean, interestingly, our local pub, the landlord, we just had a new landlord, and he hasn't got a website. I went on to Google, looked for the website, and it's the previous owner who said, I'm selling up and closing down. And I thought, well, where can I find any details about this pub? And he set up a Facebook page, and he's active, you know, a dozen times a day on Facebook with, you know, the dishes he's preparing and what's going on and all the rest of it. And he's getting some real traction on Facebook, and he doesn't have a website. So I think websites are important, but it's more about engaging with whatever your community is.
Audience,
I think and that's what MySbook does as well.
MySbook, okay. So we'll have to look at MySbook. I've not even heard of it, so I'm very embarrassed to say that. I've not even heard of MySbook. So thank you for that. That's a snippet I've taken away, certainly, Ellis. In terms of associations, then, obviously there's quite a few out there, similar to obviously Venue Directory or the likes, but associations that are agent specific.
Yeah.
Is there any that you think, again, we need to start to look at to join or go to events or whatever that you think, right, because then our target audience is there. We're in front of these people, these agents.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're already as Selling Savvy. I think you already linked up with the HPAA, so that is you know, it's a good route. You know, a high percentage of agents are members. There's also the AIEA, of which I'm a board member, and that again.
What does that stand for, Ellis? Sorry, I'm going to be really anal in asking you what that stands for.
Alliance of Independent Events Agencies.
AIEA. Okay.
Yeah. So fundamentally, 80 plus agents. You know, some venue finding, some incentives, some event management. So the bottom line is an alliance of 80 plus independent agencies that are members, which is great. You know, we do a number of events a year where we're inviting suppliers. So if you're not familiar with AIEA, message me afterwards and I'll point you in the right direction.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ellis.
Okay.
I'm just going to read some comments actually that people have made while we've been chatting away. Jen, if agents and hotels work together with openness, hotels should view agents as an essential part of their own. Absolutely, Jen.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. It's that collaboration, working together, hand in hand, and building that relationship and honesty that will really go forth and really help. Lynette has said, I'll add this, is definitely about relationship building, knowing the agent and the client, etc. Yeah, couldn't agree more, Lynette. Yeah. And Kate, our lovely Kate, has said, really interesting to hear about shouting about yourself on socials, Ellis. We've been saying that to clients over the last year, so it's lovely to hear, and it is lovely to hear from an agent's perspective that it does work. So that's interesting. Debbie, you're lovely, Debbie. MySbook is a great search tool, especially for independent venues. Debbie, you may regret saying that because you may be inundated with people requesting further information about MySbook. And Kate, yes, I always get it wrong, Kate. AIEA, yeah, really good group. And she's Lynette's also said there are amazing smaller agents. I assume she means the AIEA, who really pulled together in the last year. And obviously you're great advocate of that, Ellis, aren't you, as you're on the board?
Absolutely. And I think that is the other thing, that a lot of the smaller agents have benefited from the fact that we're all there still talking to each other and engaging and supporting each other. And that's what I think has been really important over the last 12 months.
Absolutely.
15 months, sorry.
15 months, yeah, I know. And Kate said the expenditure from independent agents as a whole can't be for. I don't think it can be, Kate. I know I certainly, when I was within venues, a lot of my larger businesses that I won was from small independent agents. So yeah, and I think, you know, it really does stand for itself. And we won't go down the politics of big agents and small agents either. So that's another time. Delphine has said the AIEA do great work. And she attended a Christmas party that was amazing. So that's great to hear. So we're really plugging the AIEA. And also, I'm really hoping it helps me say it correctly, because I've struggled with that. Just lastly, I'm going to ask you quickly, if I may. So, hooray, we've received an inquiry from you. What would you want to hear from a venue? Or what are your pet hates in terms of what a venue does or doesn't do when they receive an inquiry? I mean, you've got literally probably about 3 minutes, Ellis. So.
3 minutes. Oh, that's fine. I'll get it in quickly. I mean, the first thing that we want the venue to do is respond. That would be actually quite nice.
Yeah.
And be interested in, again, as I think I mentioned earlier, be proactive, offer the best price up front. You know, try and get an understanding of what the event is all about, and try and make it work. You know, if you can't do the inquiry, just tell us you can't do it.
Be honest. Absolutely.
Be honest with us and tell us. You know, there's no point telling us you're on second option if the first option is just going to contract. You know, so if we're on second option, we need to know there's a chance that the first option is going to release. So again, it's just being proactive, being honest, give us all of the facts, you know, tell us the good, bad and indifferent, because I think we don't want to set the client up by saying, you know, it's a fantastic venue. And by the way, you know, everybody's coming by car. It does have 80 car parking spaces, but they're all taken up from the local shoppers who use it, you know, every day. Yeah. So we've got the spaces, but you can't use them. So just be honest with us up front.
Be honest. Yeah, absolutely. Rachel from Swift Venue just said, as mentioned, does not say if rates include VAT. I assume she, sorry, I've clicked the wrong one. She does not say if rates include VAT. I assume she means when proposals are sent, whether you include that or not. I suppose that.
Yeah, and exactly, and understand the whole VAT. You know, is it 20%? Is it 5%? Which bits? You know, just give us. Be open, and I think, as someone said earlier, just be completely open and honest with us about what the rates are, what they include, what you're offering us. Very clear and transparent, because then we can make a decision without having to faff around.
Absolutely.
Because
absolutely. Ellis, your last piece of advice. Andy Bounds about communication. What was that?
It's all about the afters. You know, when I said, you know, you have a main course, but it's all about dessert, really. No, it's all about the client is not interested in what you're offering, how wonderful your product is, or your service is. All the client is interested in is what he or she is going to take away from you after experiencing. So, you know, you don't go to a fine dining restaurant because it's a fine dining restaurant and you're paying 150 quid a head for your meal. You're going because you're going to come out after having an absolutely amazing experience. And it's that you remember, that's what you take away. So focusing on on what is being taken away rather than what you're actually offering.
What you're eating, I suppose. It's the experience overall, isn't it? Rather than actually the product itself. So yeah.
Absolutely. And you don't buy,
Go on, sorry.
Okay. No, I was going to say, just to clarify on that, when you don't buy a newspaper because you like to buy the newspaper, you're buying it because of what the news that you're taking in. What's the content? So absolutely. That's simple. In simple terms,
Perfect. You've in a nutshell. It's lovely. Ellis, I feel absolutely honoured to have you this morning. We've had some really good feedback, some great questions. Thank you so much for being on. Really nice to have you. I might be asking you again in a couple of months' time. You may go, no, it's okay. I don't want to, but I hope it wasn't too painful for you.
Yeah.
And just briefly mention quickly, next week, Savvy Says again, 9:30 next Friday. The lovely Kate and Jeanette will be talking or chatting about training and the essential requirements, particularly in these difficult times where you may need to address some skill shortages and the benefits of actually looking at your skills or your colleagues' skills or shortages or whatever they may be. So that's for next week. But what's left to be said is have a lovely weekend, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Ellis, it's been a pleasure. And
thank you for inviting me.
Speak soon. Take care.
Look forward to it. Bye now. Bye bye.